seems like we are live. Can any of you guys confirm that you can see and hear me, at least? Kat, she will be here in just a sec. And I hope there's not too much of a delay today, but probably there is a little bit. Hey, perfect. All right. Confirmations across the board. Awesome, guys. Yeah, we're still trying to move the setup around a little bit, and just positioning the camera differently. Yeah, we're still working on it and trying to, optimize it as much as possible. But as I said, Kat will be here in just a moment. Sonny on the right, that's weird. Yeah, we're also playing a little bit around with that stuff, just to throw you guys off, I guess. But yeah, I guess I can start with just saying that this is gonna be a live stream all about the Expanse, if you hadn't already figured that out. We just finished the Expanse season 4 here on YouTube, and it has been a long journey. To be honest, we watched the last 2 episodes a while back, and they've been out on Patreon for a couple of weeks, I think. But now we've finished the Expanse on YouTube as well, and we can just look back at all 4 seasons and then look into the future and what's going to happen, what's going to come in the next season and the next and the next. So just a heads up for all of you people that may not have seen all 4 seasons of the Expanse, or are maybe contemplating watching them at some point. This is going to be very spoiler heavy, because we feel like it's almost impossible to talk about all 4 seasons and the journey that we have been on, and with you guys, all our reactions, everything that has been going on. It's impossible to talk about that without spoiling at least some of what has happened during the series. So yeah, that's how it is, but I still hope that as many of you will as possible will stay here and join us for a talk and some fun, hopefully. We haven't really prepared much of a structure, other than we know there are some characters we definitely want to talk about. Maybe divide it a little bit up into seasons and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's pretty much up to you guys. What would you like us to talk about? You're of course welcome to just throw in a comment in the chat. But if you want to be sure that we get to it, and if you kind of want to dictate the conversation and essentially produce the show, then you can do so via Streamlabs. The link is down in the description, and you can submit your question or your comment or whatever you want there, and we will definitely talk about it as soon as it pops up on the computer next to me. And yeah, I can see some of you already saying, thanks for not waiting with the last episode 10. And yeah, we thought it would be a good idea and a nice thing for you guys that both of our reactions, for episodes 9 and 10, that they were coming out like relatively close to each other. And hey, and there she is. All right. We're here. Everybody's here. And as you can see, there are already a lot of people joining the chat. Oh, hey!
Yeah, hey.
I didn't even see you guys. Dos Cabezos. Hey all, can't stay too long because we haven't seen the Expanse yet, but we hope both of you have a great stream.
Thank
Casey
you.
and Anthony. Oh, thank you so much, guys. I know I kind of crashed your stream last time you did one, or like your first stream. I haven't even said that to you, I think, or mentioned it to you that I crashed their stream and just wished them good luck on their first stream and everything.
Nice.
But I hope that you guys pick up The Expanse at some point and that you get to watch it and react to it, because wow, it is such an amazing series, and I don't want to call it underrated, because like the people who have seen it, they know how good it is, but maybe we should call it underseen. Like there just aren't enough people talking about it, and there just aren't enough people who've seen this like masterpiece of a series that I think it is so far.
And we got Amazon Prime for the exclusively for
the sole purpose of watching The Expanse, and then we could also watch The Boys there as well, and some
that
other
was
stuff.
great.
So
Wait,
that,
no, was that Amazon?
Yeah, The Boys. That's Amazon as well.
I always have so much trouble, just with all. I think
all
there's
the
so
streaming
many
services.
streaming services,
Yes,
and it's like there's a new one every day, and I'm subscribed to one, and you are subscribed to 3 or 4 different, and.
Yeah. And once Disney Plus gets here, then we're gonna do it the right way through the Danish channels and everything. And HBO Max, that's a new one coming out very soon with the Snyder Cut and everything. Once that comes out, that was a bit of a surprise, but hey.
But they already have one, right?
Well, they have HBO. It's called HBO Nordic here in Scandinavia, I think. Other places in the world, it's called HBO Go or something to that extent. But yes, they already have a streaming service, but it's getting combined, I think, with HBO Max and everything they have, and Warner Brothers and all of that. Underwatched, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm sweating bullets today. It's so hot. It's been 20-something degrees in Denmark, and that's a lot for us.
That is a lot for us, and with this our apartment, it's very difficult to cool it down. We know that we should only open our windows in like the early mornings and during the night, so that the cool air can come in and not the hot air during the day. But it's still, if we don't crack open a window now and then we're just gonna boil in here, I think.
Yeah, in Denmark we have very, very, very solid structures. I know in Northern America, they mostly have these almost like paper thin walls and everything, and we have like solid construction work. No, not necessarily construction work, but it's like very, very solid.
Like brick and mortar. And stuff
exactly.
Like
it's just made of, I think, almost a meter of clay, and it's very good at keeping the heat in. And then it gets very cold in winter because it's very hard to warm up as well.
Yeah. It's
anyways,
it can be a hassle.
It's not about construction. It's about The Expanse.
Exactly, about The Expanse, and we are definitely gonna dive into The Expanse. And I think just instead of starting like going from let's talk about season 1 and start from there and then work our way all the way to where we are now, I think we can start with some of the stuff that happened.
Can I just come with a disclaimer? I'm very bad at remembering stuff, and it has nothing to do with quality. It's just that my headspace I have scatterbrain, and I don't remember every single thing. And for example, I just watched Better Call Saul, and I remember absolutely nothing from Breaking Bad. So it's a bit of a tough time for me to remember stuff. So if there's a lot of things I don't remember from basically all of The Expanse, please don't start with your remember thing, because no, I don't remember. It's like...
But I'm sure that all the nice people in the chat and everything, that they're gonna tell us if there's something that we missed, or if we can't really remember it or something. And then I will, of course, do my best to remember everything that has happened in The Expanse up until now. And yes, The Expanse is such a gift. The gift that just keeps on giving and taking away sometimes as well. As some of you might have seen, I had a bit of a reaction to the last episode, and I even saw a couple of comments being like, it's sort of like reversed there. That instead of me like being like, oh, don't cry, and like handing you tissues and stuff like that, it was the other way around, because no, I did not really handle that very well. The fact that, and let's just first spoiler of the day. So if there are still some people here in the chat who doesn't want to get spoiled, then I would advise you to leave now. But even though we really want to, like, as many of you to stay as possible. But yeah, we are getting into spoilers. And Ashford.
Are we starting with Ashford?
Just because it's just the last thing that happened. I just need to get it out. Because I just edited the whole thing, and everything just came back to me while I was editing the episode, and all the feelings almost just came swirling up again. Yeah. So, as I said, did not handle that well. He had become one of my absolute favorite characters, even though we were very skeptic towards him when he came in season 3 at first, and he took control of the behemoth, it was called at that
that's
point. But
the great thing with certain characters when you like come into your life or into the series at a point, and you just think, oh my god, I can't trust this person has something, there's something up with this guy or something like that, and then he just, or she, of course, they just turn the tables completely, and you just fall head over heels in love with them. In contrast to those you just love from the get-go. Like, for example, Uncle Iroh, we just love that guy from
Avatar,
and Aang as well. It's just
another
like,
series where it's just...
we love these people from the get-go, but with Ashford, it was like he
had to earn that.
He surely did, but when you think about it, when you think about his character, where he comes from, he's like a pirate. He has done violent things, and he is associated with these extremists that are the OPA and Fred Dawson. No, that's not what...
you just mixed them. Annis and Dawes.
Annis and Dawes,
Fred.
yeah. And Fred Johnson?
Fred Johnson.
Yeah,
Annis
okay,
and Dawes,
yeah,
yes.
completely, yeah. That's what I said. It's just, I don't remember.
Scatterbrain.
Scatterbrain, yeah. And he comes from these from this extremist background, and you're just certain that he might not be like a perfect person, and he's even the antagonist when we meet him, or he becomes like an antagonist. He's
in a sense, but yeah, it's definitely not one of those clear black and white cases, because even in season 3, when he had more of an antagonistic role, we still totally understood why he was making the decisions that he was making, and why he was doing everything, everything that happened there on the behemoth. And yeah, we did not want him to go through with it, but it was still understandable, everything that happened. And then he grew from that, and that is, as you also said, like, I think it's a clear example of a very well written character and a very well written character arc, that you totally get them at the get-go, and you buy everything that they're about, but they can change and they can mature, they can become different people, just like we can, like in the real world. Like, nobody or very few people just stay the same their entire lives. Of course, that we are, like, to the core, very individual and everything, and very different, and we all have something that's always going to be a part of who we are, but we can still change and we can learn, and that is exactly what Ashford did. And then he became such an endearing character in a way, because what he ended up standing for and what he stood for was this whole thing about moving forward, even though there are a lot of past transgressions and a lot of stuff that has happened, especially with the belt and the inners. We still need to move on from that and work together and kind of let bygones be bygones sometimes. And I loved his approach to that whole thing, and the fact that he was the old wise pirate who was not as brass and naive and out for violence and
exactly
all that.
And I think that was the great thing about his character, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's also why because usually some people, they have this, they always coming out on the other side and saying, I'm that smarter. I have gotten a lot of experience, and I'm another person, and I have grown become a better person through my hardships, or even though I was an extremist, I am not anymore. But then they, in the end, just turn out to be exactly the same.
That also happens, yeah.
And that's the fear you have, I'd say. Or at least that was my initial fear, because of course I liked him and I thought he was a great character, but I did have that mistrust in a way. And even though I still thought of him as a great character, that has nothing to do with their characters, whether you trust them or not.
Yeah.
But it was just, yeah, and then suddenly when we got past that whole season 3 thing,
yeah,
and we started out with him just being this almost lawful character suddenly, and
yeah, he was
and
like
Drummer
patrolling
being,
and kind of like being a sheriff of the belt.
Yeah, and I really liked that, and that's when he really showed that he actually has grown as a person, and that he's actually not the same person any longer. He's not an extremist, and he learned from that. And it's so sad that we just get to learn that, and we just get to really embrace his character before. But that's the brilliant way of doing it, I think. That's the Game of Thrones thing, and now we can't really say Game of Thrones any longer, because that kind of, but we can call it the Expanse treatment from now on. Maybe.
Exactly, because they are definitely doing it right so far, and you get the feeling that some of these characters, they can die at any moment. Even like we were so afraid that we were going to lose Amos during these last 2 episodes when he went into a firefight there with Wei and Murtry. Because like, yeah, you never know. He could have died there easily.
Yeah.
And so many more as well. So many other characters and Bobby as well in this last episode. Damn. That was like when she was running in and trying to save Isai and all the others there, and then we got the bomb and the explosion, and yeah, just it can probably happen at any moment. And I think we learned that pretty early on in the series. If we can just go back to season 1 for a little bit here, I think it was episode 3. I know that we haven't seen that character since, but. This is one of the things that I can't remember, but the guy who was like Miller's partner.
Yeah.
Who got kind of impaled and put up on the wall there.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That was a tough one, and I remember your reaction like, holy, like, were we losing this guy already? And then in the next episode, like, Shet gets his fucking head blown off.
Yeah, and we really liked him as well.
Yeah, and I still, like, sad that we didn't get more with his character, but it is just...
Really?
It happens. And it just gives you that feeling of it can happen at any moment, and it sort of makes it more realistic in that sense. And the Expanse, just talking about the Expanse and realism, that's also a thing that they are fairly good at. And especially when it comes to how it works in space and everything. Have luck. Yes. Thank you guys so much. I knew that you would come to the rescue as soon as we didn't remember something. Yes. And I just want to mention quickly for all of the new people joining the stream that if you want to dictate the conversation, if you want to essentially produce the show, you can do so via Streamlabs. If you go down into the description, follow the link, it will take you to Streamlabs, and then you can submit your comment or your question there, and whatever it is, we will talk about it, and we will like steer the conversation in that direction. And in this one, of course, it is just all about the Expanse. So yeah, limit your comments and questions to stuff about the Expanse.
And of course, I don't know if you talked about this, but spoilers from books, please don't tell them.
Oh yeah. We're purely talking series here.
And what about spoilers from books that already are adapted? I don't know about that, because it could be that if it's something that's not related, like necessarily related to a lot of things going on, that might be adapted into...
they might use it in later seasons, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
You're saying? Or,
please
I don't know.
Be very mindful of that.
And we haven't read the books either, and we might do that at some point. I know that we really want to read The Churn, and still thinking about doing that and maybe doing a video about it. The only thing keeping us from doing that is the fact that a lot of you guys have been telling us that they might use some of the churn from that novella. They might use some of it in season 5. So if we do read it, it won't be much of a surprise. But then again, I'm sure there are going to be many surprises for us in season 5 from book 5 and not from the churn. But yeah, we're still thinking about it because we want to do more the Expanse related stuff and more Expanse videos, because it's just a world we like to like be in, and I certainly do. And yeah, I don't want to let go of it just yet, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil was in the book but not in the show. I know, but you don't, since we don't know what's to come. I still would like people not to stray away from saying anything from the books that's not in the series, because they might actually pick up on it.
Yeah, unless, if it's something that just gives, further info about, or not that it will spoil anything, or just if it's something that is maybe not that clear in the series, but it's way clearer in the books, and maybe something that you think that we should know before going into next season.
No, because sure. I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna draw the line here. Please don't talk about stuff that happened in the book that didn't happen in the series, because we have been spoiled before, where we didn't know we were being spoiled about the Mars situation and everything. And I'm not pointing out anyone.
No,
not
pointing
because
fingers.
Everyone did it. Everyone told us about the situation on Mars, and I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't want to sound this salty. I don't mean it that. I'm just very, very sad that I didn't get to go through this realization myself.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do that. So please just let's just please keep it completely, just keep it to the 4 seasons of the series so far. So please, it's my request. Please don't talk about the books in
Fair enough. All right.
Oh, and I've got I don't read jokes very well, and especially not written jokes. So now you know. It's just it was not meant. Once again, I don't want to be salty or anything like that. It's not meant like that. It's just Oh God, I'm so sweaty. I'm so sorry. I can't.
You're just moving around a lot and everything. It's all right. It's all right. All right, but yeah, let's move back into the Expanse and everything, because it has been a long journey for us, I would say. We started watching the Expanse. That was the 3rd thing we started watching, like after Game of Thrones and
about a year ago.
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
About a year ago. We definitely could have finished it beforehand, but there were just a lot of things going on in the last year, and we had to take some breaks and everything. But yeah, I just can't believe that we're finally done with the Expanse, or break for now, at least.
It took a year. It took a whole year.
It pretty much took a whole year for us to get here. But yeah, it is what it is, and we just really hope that you guys have enjoyed the journey with us, and just watching the show, maybe finding some new stuff yourself. I know that sometimes I get that watching reactions when I'm doing it. I will notice something, or the people that I'm watching, they will notice something where I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that before. So yeah, and we're just so grateful that like all you guys have just kept on watching and being here with us, and just not spoiling stuff for us, and just looking out for us, and just showing us your enthusiasm about the series, because that is what really made me giddy about it a lot of the time as well, and giddy about just putting out videos, because I just know how much all you people out there, all you Screaming Firehawks, how much you love this world of the Expanse, and it's very infectious, all your enthusiasm and everything. So just thank you for that, and thank you for I don't even remember how we decided on watching The Expanse back when we did it. I think it was just...
I think we actually put a poll out, or like a suggestion post or something like that, and people just kept recommending The Expanse and talking about The Expanse, and please watch it, and especially if you liked Jared Harris. Is that his name?
Yeah, Jared Harris, yeah.
Please watch it. It's gonna be good if you like sci-fi.
Oh yeah,
please do it.
I think it was something. Yeah, because we just watched Chernobyl.
Yeah, and it was just one of the most requested shows. And at some point, I think you said, "Okay, fine, let's do it." And because you had only seen season 1.
I found out that I had only seen season 1, and then up until the episode where Eros crashes into Venus. That was when I hadn't seen beyond that point, and I just, for some reason, I remembered it as I had seen the first 2 seasons, but just first season and then some of season 2. But there was still a lot of stuff in like that first stretch there that I did not remember, and still came as a surprise and everything. And then once we got beyond that point that I had seen up till it was all new stuff, and I was just locked in, so locked in. All right.
And if there's one thing I can see you talking about, the new cast of Avasarala's husband.
Oh,
if there's one
yeah.
thing that I'm really sad about, is sad, because usually I'm not really good with recastings, and now we just started on the comparisons between Game of Thrones, and there was a lot of recasting, and I was especially sad for when they recast
Dario Naharis.
Yeah, exactly. They did that 3 times? It was 3 different actors?
No, just twice.
Okay, because I really liked the first one, and I really felt he was so nice, and then they recast him, and I was very sad about that. And there's not really been recastings in The Expanse, except for that one.
Except for Avasarala's husband, where I'm with you there, that the actor that they had to play him in season 1, and was he in season 2 as well?
I think so.
I think so as well. Yeah, he was. He was just more. I don't know. He was just such a different actor and such a different person playing a very different role, and it just seemed like a whole different guy, a whole other guy in season 4, just a whole new role almost. Whereas if we are, let's compare it to the one we talked about, Dario Naharis in Game of Thrones. Even though he looked differently, he still very much played the same character. And I imagine that like the character wouldn't have been that different, just besides the looks, if they hadn't recast him. Whereas in The Expanse, I think like that character would have been very different if the same actor had remained in that role. And I'm not sure I know why they recasted him.
I think it was if I remember correctly, it was because he was cast in Deadpool. And
that was Dario Naharis.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. He was cast as the villain in Deadpool and did a great job there as well. But the guy from played Avasarala's husband. Yeah, it was just one of those things that was a bit damn in season 4. Not that there was a lot of that at all.
No, and I don't necessarily think he was a bad actor or anything like that. It was just that he was the same character. He was supposed to be the same character, and they didn't really do anything to introduce him. And really, I think it was that point where he was sitting next to Bobby.
They had the dinner.
Exactly, and first around about there was the first time we actually got to know, even though it was like 3 episodes in or something. If that was the first time we actually got it confirmed that it was her husband. Yeah. And I just thought it was if you have to recast someone, please make it very clear that it's a recast and not a complete new character. I think that's the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way, was because he was not really introduced not correctly, but he was not introduced in a way so I was sure who he was.
Yeah, it came more of a shock, maybe.
Yeah, it just felt weird.
Yeah. And we don't mean to nitpick or anything, and we know that like if they could have gotten the original actor, they would have done it. So it's like it was kind of out of their hands probably. And I see some of you saying that he was obligated to keep working on some other project, and as soon as they made the switch from Sci-fi to Amazon, and some stuff happened there, and yeah, like there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, of course, always that you can't really control, or it's out of your hands, and yeah, but that was just like a minor nitpick.
Yeah, and
I would
if
say
that's
about
the worst thing about the series, right?
Exactly. They don't really have a lot of stuff to worry about, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got a Streamlabs from good old Sir Percelot. Who do you think started the war and why? The proto-civilization or the yet unknown species that in the end seem to have killed the proto-civilization? And do you think they are interdimensional given what happened with the orb? Raccoons rule. Yeah, that was unrelated to the question, but yeah, that's a very good question, and something that was both kind of in the foreground but also a little bit in the background during this season. Of course, they were on Islas, Holden and crew, to figure out what the hell was up with this alien civilization and the technology there, and how it was connected to the protomolecule. They came there to look into that, but ended up being, kind of, had to solve a lot of different problems with the whole situation there with the Belters and the Earth Corp and everything. But I think that, yes, that is very interesting to delve into. Like what do we think happened? Like,
yeah, because sorry.
Because I just wanted to say that like we know that this they fired some sort of bullet that was then dormant, and that was the God's eye that they used to kind of shut down everything on the planet. But yeah, who fired first shots? That's very difficult to comment on, I think.
I think that was actually one of the things I found most interesting about season 4 was this whole proto-civilization thing, whatever happened here on Islas, this whole thing. That was actually my favorite part of the story, really. Yeah. I know it's about humanity and everything, but for me, I really like this whole alien thing. And, and if we don't
sci-fi aspect of it.
And if we don't ever get to see the aliens because they died, fine, perfectly fine. That's actually how I would prefer it, because I don't want a full-out war on the proto-builders, or even worse, those who killed the proto-builders, right? But I think, my theory is that, and I think there was someone else who actually said this theory, but I think because the proto-molecule we have seen that it's very invasive, and that this ring, this Medina station, I think they call it, the nucleus, how it's
Medina Station. That's that was the Behemoth got renamed into Medina Station, so that's the Belt. So
the nucleus then.
Yeah.
This whole bubble universe, that was made by the proto-molecule builders, and that's very invasive. And the way that it feels like Islas was just a
tool
mining facility so they could get mining elements. What's it called? Mining materials and stuff.
Minerals and
whatever. They're not rocks, they're minerals. Yeah, sorry.
That's the thing you remember from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, but also because people say it all the time, so now I finally got it. And I think because they feel like an invasive species, an invasive civilization, that perhaps because of this whole pocket universe bubble thing, that perhaps they opened the gate towards these builders or the other, not the builders, but those people they had a war with.
Yeah. So maybe they've been like, they were going too far, and they were like being too invasive all around the galaxy, or the galaxy. And then they ran into another spacefaring species that decided that they were being too aggressive. And then I don't know who fired the first shot then, but they might, you could maybe contemplate a situation where, they got too close and they thought that they were kind of invading, and then they fired, and then they fired. And I don't know. But I hope that they are going to get more into that as well, even though... and please don't confirm this, but I think that the next season, and maybe like the next big conflict, is gonna be, the whole Marco Inaros thing, and him, throwing I don't know how many fucking rocks at Earth, stealth rocks, that is, and what's gonna happen there. And so I think we're gonna switch back to familiar ground, so to say, and with Earth and Mars and the belts and that whole conflict before we're gonna go out again. But maybe not.
I surely hope that we're going out again, because if we only had that one season of going out,
I'm sure they wouldn't dive into all of that then just leave it.
Exactly. So that would be something I feel like was a wasted potential, because that's at least what I got out of the whole Eyeless New Terra thing and the whole Pocket Universe and everything. It's like, well, why introduce it if we're not gonna delve into it? And once again, that's the thing that has excited me the most, was actually, in the end, this whole protomolecule thingy thing. Yeah.
Yes. And, that also... the whole protomolecule thing and the connection with Holden and everything that happened there, that also kind of gave us Miller back after we thought we lost him. And then at first we thought we got him back just in a different sense. But we then found out that was...
basically just a projection of Miller.
Yeah, pretty much just the protomolecule using him as a tool, as the investigator, and creating him and deleting him and creating him and all of that over and over and over again. And then towards the end, he figured out how to, stop just doing whatever the masters said that he should do and start thinking for himself. And, we kind of got Miller back there in the end. Even though it was just towards the end, and pretty much only it was only in episode 9 of this season that we really got that version of Miller back, I think. But it was great, and that, the actor and everything, he did such a great job with that character. And I think, even though we are only, we're not even halfway through the entire story yet, because there are probably gonna be 9 seasons, 9 books. I think that his character is it's gonna keep being very important and very it's gonna keep being in our minds and in our hearts all the way through the story, because he just he saved a lot of people twice, and the first time he really saved a lot of people with just finding Julie and then talking to her and making her believe that no, we should not go back to Earth, should go to Venus, and everything happened there, so that Eros at least didn't crash into Earth. But yeah, without Miller, I don't see how that wouldn't have happened, or how they would have gotten out of that whole thing. So yeah, all I'm saying is just Miller, rest in peace again. We're gonna miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For reals this time.
For reals, yes.
Because, I was just thinking there's such an interesting thing with this whole Miller thing. He has basically uploaded his conscience to whatever the protomolecule and Eros and the voices of Eros and everything. I think they must be it must be uploading his consciousness, unless they couldn't use him. He was like a prisoner of them And I just thought it was a little bit interesting. I haven't really thought that much into it, but it's a little bit like the Geth, where they have like a network of I don't know even
that's
what
always
to call it.
connected,
It's like,
and they're always connected
yeah,
to, like, each Geth is connected. When we're talking Geth, we're talking about Mass Effect, of course, and as you know, we like to find similarities between the Expanse and Mass Effect, because it's just two sci-fi fantasy properties that we really like. And yeah, there was something in that was Mass Effect 3, right? With the or was that no? That was in the second one. Yeah, with the heretics and you know.
Yeah.
That part of the whole Geth consensus thing that was loyal to the heretics, or like one way of thinking and then the other, and then we had Legion, and yeah, it's kind of similar. Yeah, I can totally see that. And we have another Streamlabs from Dark's Fallen. My wife blames Ashford's death on Drummer. Okay. For voting to release Inaros when they had him captive, even though Drummer was one of her favorite characters. What do you think? Do you think Earth would still be threatened if Inaros died then? That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
Would what happened here towards the end with the stealth rocks and everything, and Philip and Ashford? Would that have happened if Marco had died?
I don't think it would have happened, but I do believe that something might even be worse. Like we would have a full-blown civil war, maybe, or like the Belters just completely falling apart and doing their own thing and just destroying it for each other rather than actually, uniting. And I'm not saying that the Marco Inaros thing is good. It's like the worst thing, and it hurts my Belter heart that he would do such a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's very hard to say that Drummer was initially responsible for the death of Ashford. I don't think you can connect it like that. Of course, it's indirectly her fault, but there is so much more about it than just, basically voting Ashford to his death.
It's such a complicated matter.
Exactly. It's really complicated.
It really, really is. And I'm sure that once Drummer gets the news that Ashford unfortunately died trying to hunt down Marco, that she is probably gonna blame herself a little bit. And she's gonna be, it's gonna affect her, because those two characters, they had a very, very close relationship all the way to the end there. But yes, as you said, it is such a complicated matter with the Belters and the whole Belter identity and what should they do, what shouldn't they be doing, and there are all these different factions. And I do believe that what Drummer and also Ashford talked about, the whole reasoning behind letting Marco live was that so that they wouldn't have a civil war between all the factions. So that was still, even after they talked about it, the safe choice, and Ashford could also see that, even though he voted for Marco's death. It's just really difficult. But I have, like, a side of me still thinks that even though they might have killed Marco at that point, his whole plan about the stealth thing, the stealth technology, and using that with the rocks and throwing them and everything, I think that would still have come to fruition, because he worked with a lot of people, and he, like, maybe even Philip would have been the one to take over.
Yeah, exactly.
After the fact, because it was a whole, like, a scheme that he probably planned over a long period of time.
Exactly.
and using Mars and the Martians and their willingness to sell some of all the technology that they can't use anymore, and the whole thing with Mars and their identities. It's a long con, so to say, that he was running there. So I think plans would have been in place so that if he died, they would still go through with whatever he had planned. That's my thinking, at least. Yeah. But good question. Thank you so much. And please, submit more questions if you'd like. Very good one so far.
Yeah,
really making us think about stuff.
Exactly. This one was really, because it's such a complex matter,
Yeah.
and it's just, it's funny to think about, or not funny, but it's interesting, at least.
It really is. It really is. And yeah, as I saw someone saying in the chat, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
So you never fucking know. There can always be something that's gonna come up, and you're gonna be like, oh, well, that thing or that decision I made, that was a huge mistake in hindsight. Yeah, but that's also one of the things that makes the show what it is, or makes the story what it is, that these characters, they can make mistakes, even though they are, at the time, making the right decision. It can turn out to be a mistake later on. There's no black and white there.
But that's very real in life as well.
Yeah.
You think that it could be anything. It could be like a job position. It could be that one day where you think you choose rightly to take your car instead of the bus, and then you accidentally get into a car crash or whatever. It's how all these choices we make every day, that sometimes these choices might seem right, but they turn out to be, that's definitely not the right thing. Could be you meeting someone and you think you love this person, and then you find out that person is a dick, and then definitely not. Hindsight is 2020, and that's how we live our lives. We live our lives thinking backwards. Like, we live our lives, we understand our lives backwards.
Yeah. You can't contemplate something that hasn't happened yet. So
exactly,
of course. It's even though and they also was like, that was also a kind of a message in the show, or it is a message in the show, and many other places as well. It's the whole notion about not living too much in the past and looking back at past transgressions and focusing on the now and what can we do better in the future and everything. It is still, we need to learn from the past, and we can't just forget about it completely. That's totally true. All right, I feel like I kind of want to talk about some more of the characters and dive into some of those, but I thought it could maybe be a fun little thing to do first and ask the chat, who's your favorite character? And just see how many pops up, and how many of the same character and everything, just to see. So yeah, tell us in the comments, who is your favorite character? Just the name of that one character, if you had to choose only one. And then we'll see like how many Amoses and how many Alexes and Holdens and Millers and Naomis will pop up there, or Ashfords, or
Bobbies,
others, or Bobbies, and Avasaralas, of course.
Yeah.
So okay, here we go. Here it starts. We already got 4 different ones. Drama, Alex, Miller, Amos. Living or ever, just ever.
Oh,
all of them.
I always just like, how does this make sense? But of course, yeah.
All right. Amos, there's a lot of Amos. Also a lot of Bobby, I think. Right?
Yeah, it's
Christian, I see an Ashford, a Miller.
That's interesting to say, like a female character one, like a female favorite and a male favorite.
Oh yeah, someone's doing that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Very interesting. But yeah, it's pretty scattered, as I thought. But it is very much the characters that I mentioned. You know, the core group, and Ashford and Christian and so forth. So yeah, that's we all have preferences, but who would you say is your?
I don't have anyone.
No,
I can't narrow it down.
No. If you had to, maybe. What about Naomi? You always seem like very attached to her character and her sensibilities.
I don't know if she's my favorite. I can't really point out anyone that I find more intriguing than the others, or like more relating, or I mean, I think you people and we people, we all have different favorites because they speak to us and our person and what we've been through in our lives differently.
Yeah.
And that's why, and that's what was so amazing about this, because we don't have like an ultimate favorite, because once again with Avatar, Uncle Iroh is like most people's favorite. It's like a very clear character that most people love.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, depending on who you are as a person, what you've been through, and how you relate to these characters, they will be your favorites.
Yes, and there's also something to be said for the fact that all the characters are very different, and they are like they have different ideals, they have different backgrounds and different goals and everything, and they sometimes they clash, sometimes they work together, just like real life. And I think that that's also something that people are really, that's what people really like grabbing onto, is the fact that they can see a side of themselves in one character in particular, and their way to go about things, and then some other people, they won't agree with that character at all, but they'll agree with another character, and it's just they're just showing us a lot of different approaches through the characters and their journeys. So I just think that it's great to see, and that was what I was hoping for, was that you were all gonna say almost like, were you gonna say different characters, or are you gonna jump between like 6 or 7 different characters, and not just the one? Because I think that this it shows a lot of strength in a series when it has that many really, really appealing characters that people can call their favorites, and not just 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's real great.
I think it's much easier to say which characters I don't like, or I don't find
appealing,
or the characters I hate.
Yeah,
like my least favorite characters.
But then again, like, it's still characters that you don't hate them because they are, badly portrayed or anything like that. It's just what they're standing for, and their philosophies. And I think we might be talking about the same one here, and one that we know that we've been clashing with some of you guys in the comments a little bit, and you have, like, all of you guys have been clashing as well, and that's Murtry. So let's get into Murtry a little bit.
Oh, really?
Just a little bit. Because he was a big part of season 4, and this,
And the actor did such a great job. So it's not about that. It's like the Joffrey effect almost, right? That you hate him so much that you love him almost.
Yeah. And all
you love to hate him.
Yeah, exactly. And all the discussions back and forth. Do we understand him? Do we get why he's doing what he's doing? Is he in the right? Is he not? It's just that makes for so darn compelling television. TV, I was about to say, and storytelling and everything. And I just, even though we clashed, I'm glad that we did, because it's a thing that it made us think about stuff, and it made us contemplate like why he did what he did, and and you can attack it from all sorts of angles, and I really love the way that they are developing characters. And this is I don't know if you could consider it a book spoiler or not. It's the kind of in the same vein as with Ashford's character, whereas apparently he was quite different in the series compared to how he is in the books, and apparently the same can be said for Murtry, where he's a bit more two-dimensional maybe in the series compared to the books, and it was the other way around with Ashford.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Once again, we haven't read the book, so we can't really do a comparison, so to say. But even though he might have been more two-dimensional in the series than in the books, I still think that he was a very interesting character. And for a long while, like there in the first many episodes of season 4, you didn't really you could definitely argue back and forth whether or not he was in the right or not. I totally get that. We still don't think that he was in the right at any, like, as soon as he pulled the trigger on that first Belter guy and just executed him, even though he threatened him. Like from that point on, he was kind of in the wrong. If he hadn't done that, then maybe we would have been on his side. And if he had tried to do it the civilized way, you know.
If I must be completely honest here, and I don't want to dive in too much to it, because I have very strong opinions about the guy, and I'm afraid that I might be, I'm afraid I might go a little bit angry, perhaps. And we don't want that. So I'm thinking, because we're Europeans, and especially since we Danes, we come from a society or like a general structure. I don't know what's it called, but you know.
We're more socialist, is what you're getting at, or
definitely not.
Okay.
We have one of the least corrupted states. Or I don't know what's it called, but we are one of the least corrupted countries in the world, like justice system wise. And I think that has a lot to do with the way we think about justice and how justice is served. Where I think a lot of people, if they have other laws or rules, I know, for example, they have a little bit, another view on how you what is self-defense and what is not, because here in Denmark you can basically not do self-defense basically before you get actually get punched. Even if people are talking about like threatening you, you could of course always call the police and everything, and
you're not allowed to do anything,
but you are not allowed to.
Under no circumstances will it ever be okay to stab or shoot or try to kill another human being, even in self-defense. That will always be against the law here. But it's different in other parts of the world, as you said. And cultures that are coming from, or you know, other cultures, and especially in this season, a kind of a theme throughout was this whole frontier thing. And that is something that we don't come from, like there wasn't, you know, frontier justice or something like that in Denmark, at least, you know, not in the past many years or something.
Sorry, it's just got confirmed that Denmark is the least corrupted political institution in the world.
Yay! But either way. It's still like we didn't grow up with that. We don't have that background, so we just look at it totally different. So from our perspective, the whole like using the wild frontier and what happened there in the past as an excuse for what is happening now in the future, we never really bought into that. We never understood it, because it was like, well, it was wrong back then. Why is it right now?
Exactly,
all of a sudden?
and that's
just
why,
because it happened. It's
and I think that's what's so amazing about how they
wrapped it up.
Exactly, and with this whole, because they as it's been said so many times before, it's this whole frontier thing, and it was done a bit like an old western, and it was kind of like a take on that.
Both on Islas, but also, you know, just overall, we talked about Ashford being kind of like the sheriff now, and patrolling the belt and everything, and it was just that whole frontier vibe that was all throughout the season. But yeah, it's you were saying.
Yeah, I forgot Scatterbrain.
Oh, sorry.
But you know, this whole frontier thing, and the reason we're not having frontier justice, and why, I'm sorry, this is my opinion and my opinion only, why frontier justice is wrong. We have moved away from that for a good reason.
Yeah.
We are not going back in time. We're not, because I think that's a step in the wrong direction. Going back, remember this, going back to frontier justice. So what we then develop into is a civilization, and we're doing things the civilized way.
Exactly.
Because that's I'm sorry again, only my opinion, the right way.
Yeah.
And that's also what Holden is kind of saying. Is like, you can't do frontier justice. That's not justice. That's just...
Yeah, that's just using the past as an excuse.
Exactly. That's just in the past.
Yeah.
We have to move forward all the time. We have to better ourselves. We can't just go back and go back and go back and think that's the right thing. Because we develop for the greater good of all of us as a civilization. So that was just it. I'm done. I don't want to talk about this.
No, fair enough. Yeah, you're right. And it's also, we need to remember that, and we brought up our own culture, that like we, for example, come from a place that have a long history, and we have been developing our culture and our social structure and everything for many, many years. And if we keep comparing ourselves to the US, well, we have to be fair about it. The US is a very, very young country. Like, it wasn't that long ago since it was the frontier over there, and like they had to figure it all out. And plus, it's a huge ass place compared to where we live. So we might have had it a little bit easier, but it's still, even though it's tough and it will make things so much more difficult, that if like you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just arrested a guy and now you have to transport him all the way back, and so many things can go wrong. And yeah, but you still have to do the right thing, even though it's difficult. You can't use that as an excuse to be like, oh no, it's too hard and it's too difficult to like try to bring them back and put them in front, like put them in in the court or whatever you say. And so let's just execute them right here. Frontier justice. That's, I would still argue, even though it's harder to do it the other way, it's never the right choice to just execute someone. But yeah, then again.
And I still, if we can talk about people again. I have so many things to say about this. Sorry, that's also very short. That was why I was very disappointed in Amos, because I don't think that was the right punishment. I think that kind of took away from this whole like Holden's goal with him being arrested the good old way.
And we know that no, he probably did not kill Murtry there. It looked like that to us because of his very like Myrtle-like eyes, or like when he said thank you, he looked crazy.
Yeah.
And we've seen that look in Amos's eyes before, where he was just about to, for example, at one point he was just about to kill Miller. He even kind of did it with Alex at one point, and it's just so we were just afraid that was kind of the same thing there. But we know he just started beating him, and then he's probably gonna heal him again or throw him in the machine and then beat him again, and just back and forth until they get back to Earth. But yeah, I stand with you. I still think that it sort of sends a wrong message, or it kind of steps on what Holden was saying about civilization and justice.
Yeah, and I just a little side note to that whole why we culturally are looking at the law differently. There was a case last summer in Sweden with some rapper that
the one with ASAP
Rocky, yeah.
ASAP Rocky, yeah.
And he came from a belief that what he did was self-defense, because that would be considered self-defense where he came from.
Oh yeah.
But in Sweden, the rules of self-defense are different, and therefore he was sentenced after Swedish laws, because this happened in Sweden, right? And this is all has been on my mind all the time. I've watched this through this whole thing, and people saying that they believe that Murtry was in the right, and I was just like, well, maybe that's because you're culturally you have another view on justice and on the law and stuff like that, because you have other.
Sorry,
just as like all other laws in place than we do, and that's why we look at it differently, perhaps. And that was just what I was thinking about, this whole cultural or this whole justice thing throughout, frontier justice thing. Allah. Anyway, I think we should end it here because I can see we have 2 more questions on Streamlabs. So let's just get into that.
Yes, exactly. I just someone just put in a funny comment. Amos just tenderized Murtry a bit. I thought that was funny, even though still wrong. But of course you can joke about anything, I guess. All right, we have another one from Sir Persalat. Did you think that Dawes, since he vanished, may have built ties with the remnants of Mao's Caliban research group, since Bobby found clues about the belters that stole the parts on and were related to them, and that Inaros is used as distraction? Oh, yeah. That's actually... I noticed it, and I had totally forgotten about that point. But while I was editing the last episode, Bobby at one point, she's looking at a screen, or at her personal screen there, and then looking at some, like, scrolling through a bunch of people, and then it said Protogen with some of them, like it was still active in a way, or something to that extent. Because So yeah, there might be something about that, because we haven't really seen Dawes ever since he took Cortez, I think, right? All the way back in season 2? It must be. When he took Cortezar. The only surviving scientists from that station where they found Dresden and all the protomolecule tech back at the beginning of season 2. So yeah, Anderson and Dawes have been missing for a while, but as far as we know, Claes Ashford is actually acting under Anderson's command or supervision, or whatever you want to say, that he's yeah. But Anderson is such an interesting character as well, and the only reason we haven't really brought him up is because he hasn't been in the show for a while.
I don't think we've seen him since season 2. So
yeah, that's what I said when he abducted Cortezar. In that episode, I think, where he was like, Fred Johnson, I have stolen your weapon, and so on.
It's just I hope, of course, that they're gonna show him again, because he was really an interesting character. He was like, he always kept you on your toes in regards to what do we think of him, because is he just pure manipulation, or is he actually true about this? Always
saying the right things, but what is underneath all of that, and what's his intention and everything. I really hope that we'll get to see more of his character in the next seasons, or in the seasons to come. But yeah, it could be interesting if like, because that, as again, he has Cortezar, he is looking into the whole protomolecule thing. What has he been working on? What has he been doing in all this time? And does he maybe have some sort of secret alliance with Marco and using him as a distraction, or I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see. That was a real good question. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to if they get more time with him. It's just I don't know if they renewed his contract when they shifted over to Amazon. I surely hope they did. I know that he's been very busy doing both movies and television series and everything. Sought out actor. Yeah, so he's definitely busy doing other stuff. I just hope that they still have him on the payroll so he can join once in a while, because he's such an interesting character, and a recast of Innocent Dawes would be... that would not go over well with the fans. Nope. No. That's not gonna happen. All right, we have another one from Procrastinosaurus Rex. Hi, Ito. Which means hey, you too. I wonder, as fans of both Star Wars and The Expanse, two verses on all but opposite sides of the scale of space opera realism? What do you like and dislike about either approach? What can one do that the other one can't? And where can either fail?
Wow.
Another really good questions, you guys. You're just on fire today. Oh yeah, well yeah, of course we love, that's a known fact, we love Star Wars, and me especially probably, but and then Expanse, and those are two very different approaches
Exactly.
to this whole thing, and you have Star Wars on one end of the scale where it's I wouldn't even call it sci-fi. It's pretty much it's
purely fantasy.
It's purely fantasy, and George would say so himself. And then you have the Expanse on the other side of the spectrum that is very much sci-fi, even though of course there are some fantasy elements to it because we are talking about alien civilizations and protomolecule and all of that stuff. But you know, a lot of what is going on in the Expanse is built on, you know, real theories and real physics and everything, whereas in Star Wars it definitely is not. So yeah, I think what the strength of something like The Expanse and that approach where they are trying to build on realism and real physics, that can be used to ground an otherwise fantastical story, ground it very much and make it more, make it seem more real, and you
Possible?
can
Perhaps
impossible
even
perhaps
possible?
yeah. One movie that I actually think of that is kind of in that vein, I know you haven't seen that one yet, but Arrival is very much celebrated as a sci-fi movie that takes a lot of inspiration from the, you know, realism and real physics, and can tell a very grounded and very real story that will engage you and can maybe be more of a thriller sort of thing, where and it can maybe play around in more different genres. It can be very serious, but it can also be lighter tone. Whereas the Star Wars and the very, very fantasy like stuff with big explosions and a lot of CGI and colors and everything, it's of course it can still play with a lot of genres, but I think it is more pigeonholed into a like lighter tone sort of deal. So that might be, you know, yeah, that what might be what I like about their approaches, what I think is different with those two approaches. Yeah, but I don't really have a like a favorite or like a favorite approach, so to say. Star Wars is my favorite franchise of all time, but that is also very much because of nostalgia and I grew up on it. But yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. Star Wars, as you said, is a fantasy. That means, and it's also movies, so it's not delving as much into the characters in the same way that we're doing in The Expanse. And the way I see it is that we have Star Wars on one side that is very, for me, it's like that it's just talking about like it's not necessarily delving into like human aspects of humanity, more like it's just like a good old classical good hero story about black and white and evil and good. And it's definitely also, it was originally aimed for a little bit younger audience. So for me, it's more like a black and white thing, and it's definitely it often leaves me feeling good about stuff because it's a happy ending, and it's like we got all figured out, and it's all about like the heroes win the day and all this. So it's a very a very good story in that regard.
Yeah.
Then we have Expanse on the other hand, that's very realistic, and to be fairly honest, the world sucks and humanity sucks, but there's so many different aspects about it. It's like so many gray areas that we get to explore, we get to expand on, and we just it's like if you see Star Wars as a black and white thing. I see Expanse as a gray thing, like with a lot of...
When you're talking about moral choices and stuff.
Yeah, but I also see it in the way that they do things. Like the story behind it is very black and white. It's very
good versus
dualistic.
Evil. Yeah. Star Wars is very much a story about good versus evil. And clear divide between those two.
And then on the other side, I feel Expanse is definitely dealing more in grays.
Mm-hmm.
And like more than 50 Shades of Grey. Like all the shades of grey.
Yes.
And that's just, I just think that's really interesting in a different way, because it doesn't necessarily leave me feeling good about it, because it's just reminding me of just how shitty humanity is. And but also, of course, about all the good things when we stand together and when we when
it can bring hope as well.
Yeah. So it's just in another way, really, and it's a good story, but in another way. It's not like the classical.
No, it's
good story.
What I think you can also kind of divide it up into is a lot for me with the characters, where like in The Expanse, because the characters are so real and kind of grounded in realism and very different and everything, and they can be very flawed. Most of them are, which is also very realistic. Like no one is just a pure saint or a pure freaking devil, except for Marco. So you can identify maybe better with some of those characters, which also grounds it. Whereas in Star Wars, I don't know how many. Like, of course, people can identify with someone like Rey. If we would bring up like a newer character, but she's still like kind of on a pedestal. That character in particular, where it's like almost can do no wrong. And to me, it's just. Of course, there are very real and grounded characters in Star Wars. That's not what I'm saying, and you can identify with them, but it is still on a level where it's just it's another world, and it just feels like fantasy. Whereas The Expanse is just, it feels like I could see myself, I could put myself in the world of The Expanse. Whereas in Star Wars, yeah, it could be fun, but it's not like that's. It's so much more like far removed from what our world actually is and how people behave and everything. And The Expanse is just closer to that. So yeah, but.
And you're saying it very well here, Doug, that the Star Wars / fantasy is definitely pleasing more to the emotional sides of us, whereas The Expanse and other like more realistically grounded sci-fis are definitely more intellectually pleasing.
Yeah, speaks more to.
Yeah, wow. and that's a great way of putting it, because of course with fantasy you can make a whole new civilization. You can build it up from scratch, and you can basically make everything from scratch. Whereas if you're trying to adhere to reality, it's going to be a little bit more different.
Tell a grounded story. It's going to be difficult as well.
That was actually what I was saying. I just said different instead of difficult.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because of course if you have fantasy, you can do anything, really. And that's amazing. You can have magic and everything. And
exactly. I do think very much hitting the nail on the head there, that with sci-fi like The Expanse, it might be more difficult to grab everyone and tell a story that everybody emotionally can invest themselves in without using a lot of cheap tricks like you can do in fantasy, where it's like, okay, we're having a trouble making this really entertaining while also keeping it interesting and on an intellectual level and emotional and everything. So let's throw in this thing and this thing and that thing, and like there are no rules in fantasy. Whereas, as you said, in something like The Expanse,
you have to adhere to
certain rules, and you have to keep things more grounded, as we've said 1,000 times.
And I'm not saying that you can't do like magic stuff or supernatural stuff or something like that. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm just saying that you still have to adhere to certain rules of physics and certain, like, for example, a lightsaber would never happen.
No, but
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't really happen, because how are you going to?
I think that there are always a lot of videos on that.
But
on
you know,
YouTube,
in general, and with the Force and everything like that, it's definitely more fantastical elements rather than it's actually grounded in real physics, where that's what Expanse have been praised for.
Yes. Even though that, and some people are mentioning it's that, you know, protomolecule and all that stuff. Magic, fantasy. If that's not grounded in realism, but like to some extent, I'm sure that there are some theories behind, like if we ever encountered an alien species or alien technology, physiology, whatever, like what would it look like and how would we interact with it? What would most likely happen, and so on. There are many studies on this, but it is still at its core, that part of the Expanse at least is fantasy, but they're blending that in with all the realism.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Stranger Things. It also has this. Some of the theories are actual theories about like interdimensional travel and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
With
and then they use that to.
Yeah, exactly. To makes a funny story. Or it's not funny, but you know, like
it can be, but interesting and
it's fun. Okay, it's really funny. Stranger Things is really funny to me, but you know what I mean. It's they can make something a little bit more. They can
make up.
Yeah, they can make up their own thing from that, and I just think that's what you can do with. That's the extent of it. I mean.
Exactly. And there are just to end this Star Wars versus the Expanse, fantasy versus sci-fi kind of discussion here, or to cap it off. Of course, there are, like, if you look at the numbers with those two things, and a part of the question was like, one can the other do that the other one can't, and where can either fail. It is very easy it's easier for something like the Expanse to fail when they try to entice or try to get as many people interested in it as possible. Whereas with Star Wars, you can do a lot of different stuff, and it's more on an emotional level and more colorful and lighter tones, and that is also reflected in, many more people are talking about something like Star Wars or more fantasy. And like we had the MCU as like the biggest of the biggest franchises at the moment, and of course there are many real characters, and I love the MCU, don't get me wrong, but it is still operating on a level where it's just more accessible to that many more people, whereas something like the Expanse is maybe not as accessible, but I wish it was. I wish as many people like knew about the Expanse as there are people who know about the MCU and Star Wars and everything. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to get in there. All right. Just gonna refresh it here. Make sure that I'm getting everything. Yeah, okay. There we go. Sorry, guys. But yeah, that was a really good question. So many good questions that are really making us think about stuff. And even though we are maybe getting to talk about stuff that, it's related to the Expanse, but it's not exactly just keeping it 100% on the Expanse. I still think it's great questions, and it's a lot of fun to talk about, at least. And I hope that all you guys are still still okay out there and kind of following along and enjoying and everything. I do think that like we're trying not to make these live streams 2.5, 3 hours or something, as they are as sometimes they we will get to that point where we've been sitting here for a long time. But now today, when we are talking about just pretty much one subject, that is the Expanse, I think we are maybe aiming to not let it go on for too long. But if you do have, and I just want to mention this again for anyone who have joined late in the stream, you can submit your comment or your question through Streamlabs. The link is down in the description, and then you can kind of dictate the conversation and essentially produce the show in a way. So yeah, if you would like to do that, then please go ahead and do it, and we will get to it as soon as it pops up. Yeah, have you spotted anything what people are talking about in the comments? I know it's not easy because they are moving fast and everything.
Oh, it's good to hear that you got to hang with us. Anyways, even though I'm sad that your D&D session was cancelled.
Who's saying that? Oh, Procrastinosaurus Rex. Oh yeah, and thank you for the great question. That was the one about Star Wars and the Expanse and everything. Great question. So yeah, it's just I'm only asking because you've been very focused on the chat. So it's just if you have noticed anything.
Yeah, I haven't really. Honestly, I just spaced out. I've just zoned out. And if you're wondering what I'm doing with my right arm, it's just I recently got this pop socket.
Fidgeting.
And I'm fidgeting because that's what I do. I am a fidgeter.
Yes.
And
it's not at all distracting.
I'm sorry. It's just I can't not do it.
It's all right.
It's if you believe if you live after the 4 ways of concentration, you have like kinetic concentration or kinetic understanding, and then you have auditory, and you have visual, and you have tactile, so you have to do things with your hands and with your fingers and stuff. And that's I'm a combined visual and tactile person, so I always have to fiddle with stuff.
Yes, fair enough. But yeah, maybe a good thing to end the stream with, or like as a last thing to talk about, unless there are any Streamlabs, is what's gonna happen. Looking forward, theorizing a little bit maybe, or just commenting a little bit on what we think, or talking about what we think might happen. Do we think Earth is gonna get destroyed in like the beginning of the next season? That's a big thing. Like, holy shit. I personally, I don't think that's gonna happen, because whoa, that would be like, holy shit, how can anyone...
I can't imagine Sol without
Earth.
Without Earth.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to imagine that would actually happen. And I hope that, the message that Ashford sent in the end there, it said it was broadcasting. I don't know if it was only to Drummer or if it was just broadcasting to anyone who was listening. Then hopefully he managed to then warn the people and warn them in time, so that they can do something about these freaking stealth asteroids before they hit Earth. But if not, and then they do hit Earth, then at least we know Christian is on Luna, because she was going there at the end of the season. Yeah. Even though her husband was staying behind and everything.
If Earth goes, then
Luna is fucked.
Yeah, exactly. At least if we're staying with see ya, Sarah. Sorry. Well, if we have to stick with the theme of correct or realistic physics,
yes,
then Luna is definitely effed out.
Yeah, also a goner if Earth gets hit.
I don't think I think I have very strong belief that they're gonna figure it out, or there's something's gonna happen, or maybe they evacuate in a good time, or at least like some Earthers survive, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's because it's just so hard to imagine this world and this series continuing on without Earth and everything that has to do with Earth.
Yeah.
Because of course there are still gonna be like Earthers, Earthers,
Earthlings.
Earth. That just I could not get that word out of my mouth. Anywho, there's still gonna be people from Earth around the galaxy or around the Milky Way, and there are still some ships close to the ring and the Medina station and everything, I think. But still, it's just so hard to imagine going forward without Earth. So I guess what we're basically saying is just we're very much looking forward to finding out. But I don't think it's gonna happen, and especially if, and now I'm just I might be I might have been thinking about this a little bit too much or theorizing about it too much, or if we are gonna delve into Amos' backstory in the next season, I have a feeling that what's gonna trigger that is him going back to Earth and then going to Baltimore, where he's from. Cannot go to Baltimore if it's gone. So something's gotta give.
Yeah.
Something's gotta happen. That's my thinking, at least.
But yeah, somebody's saying maybe Earth suffers some damage. Yeah, I think that could also easily be a very valid prediction.
Yeah.
That there is some sort of debris or something like that that's gonna F up a big part of the Earth, and that's perhaps when we see Avasarala again, because of course with Gao just being newly elected.
Yeah, and the first thing that happens once she's elected is Earth is under attack.
Exactly, and who will they maybe turn to? Yeah.
Sorry, we're just getting some more Streamlabs from all of you great people out there. But yeah, it's man, and the Rossi crew getting back to Earth, hopefully, maybe as well, and yeah, it's gonna be really interesting getting back into all of that, and then we also know that Bobby she contacted Christian
and said, I'm ready to work for you.
Now we can team up.
Yeah, and that's
which was bad timing.
Very worst timing.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think you just talked about Rossi, and I just wanted to point out that I think with this whole situation that it's gonna so split. It's gonna divide.
Yeah.
Or at least like. I can't.
Just divide is a fine.
Yeah,
term.
but it's not really. Yeah, but it's something's gonna happen between in the Rossi dynamic.
Between them, so that they're gonna go their separate ways. Not separate ways, but.
That's why I didn't want to use divide, because that feels like they're just like completely like split.
But I'm not saying like it's for good, but it's gonna maybe divide them a little bit or make them like not on
there's
good
gonna be
terms.
Conflict.
Okay.
What I wanted to say.
All right, you were looking for a certain word.
No, I have so many Danish. I can't even say expressions exactly that would fit into this, but I can't properly translate them.
No, sometimes you can't translate stuff directly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't. But it's just, I think there's gonna be some conflicts, and especially with this whole, because it is a Belta and it is Naomi's ex-boyfriend, whatever, the dad to her kid and stuff like that. So there's definitely gonna be a lot of stuff there. I think that's gonna drive them not necessarily apart, but drive
a wedge between them or something.
Exactly. That
was what you were looking for. Okay.
Exactly. I couldn't remember what a wedge was called. That it was called a wedge. I knew what it was in Danish, but I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got it. Language barrier broken.
Yeah. So yes, this definitely I think that's definitely going to happen, and there's a lot of this. The whole political situation is going to be awry. This next one, I think, and I'm just a little bit curious as to see what's going to happen. But as I've said before, I actually give very, very, very little for the politics, and I'm way more excited about the whole space stuff. That's the thing I'm really interested in. And especially with this whole, that was actually a thing that I liked so much about season 4. It was this whole science thing. It was the science thing that was cool for me. It was
Okoye and then looking into what was with the planet and the
exactly.
the
And I knew they
yeah.
went into details with that in the books. So when we get started on the books, I'm looking very much forward to read about this because, of course, I am a biologist. I am a biochemist. I'm very excited in this kind of stuff. And
you like the science of it.
Yeah,
so,
and that's just been so great for me. And also with these space ecosystems, how would they work and stuff like that. So just, yeah, I really hope that we're going to delve much more into the whole space side of things and the whole science side of things. And I'm sorry, but a little bit more away from politics because I give very little for that. I don't have many F's to give to that. It's just, yeah.
Not that you hate it. That's not what she's saying.
No,
she's just that's not what you're interested in.
I don't. You know how you have a certain taste in.
Yeah. But I don't think you need to defend it or anything.
No,
It's
I'm just trying to point out that it's just a taste thing that I don't care much about political dramas, and I know some people they love it. It's
eat it up.
Exactly, and it's just that's not my thing. And it's the same with mobster things, gangster things. It's the same with
war things,
stuff like that. It's just it's not speaking to me at all.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm just if people start to give me flack for it, I just want to say that it's just a taste thing.
Yeah, of course. It's as so many things are in this world. And yeah, just returning a little bit, where were we, Expanse-wise? Because there was something I wanted to say about
the future.
The future as well.
Mars? Marco?
I think it's probably gone.
Miller?
No. It was something about, it's... Oh yeah, Naomi, and because you were mentioning Naomi, and it was many minutes ago, but
I know.
the whole thing about they might drive a wedge in between the characters on the Rossi, and it might have something to do with Naomi and her relationship to Marco, her ex-husband or just ex, whatever it is, and their kid together, Philip. But I think that she did meant like the reason why she left him in the first place was because he was willing to kill a lot of innocent people just to achieve their goal, and he was willing to throw rocks and all of that stuff. So I think she's going to be very adamant about catching the guy or trying to, take Philip away or like get him out of Marco's clutches, and then Fred is maybe she contacted Fred about it that he owes her a favor, and then
now he's gonna
he's gonna have to pay up, and and she's cashing in, and he's gonna help her hopefully to help her finding Philip. And maybe that has been going on, and he's been trying to find him, and while he's trying to find him, he figures out what's going on with Marco and what he just did. Or, I don't know. It's interesting, is all I am saying. Alright, we have some more Streamlabs. Let's get to them before we end the stream. Another one from Dark's Fallen. Frontier speeches aside, do you think letting Amos and Murtry have a go at each other is the lesser of two evils? If Holden told Amos no, and Amos lost his temper a year into the 18-month trip and killed him, things might have been worse? Yep, yeah, that is true. Like, you can definitely look at it like that. That, Amos getting to beat him up now is a way for him to, get it out of the system and not having it, build up to a point where during that whole trip back to Earth that he'll just snap at one point and actually kill him. Yeah, I can definitely see some, like,
I just think
sense in that.
there's now he has laid his hands on him. I think it's already ruined from that point.
Yeah,
basically. So I'm just kind of disappointed because I think Holden was very clear about this, and I know he's still basically honoring Holden's wishes, but I still
technically he is.
Yeah, technically, but I still don't think it's morally advisable. It's just I'm once again I'm a little bit disappointed in Amos' character, more like in a moral sense.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel just a little bit good about it, but that's just my sadistic side.
Yeah, we all have that piece of us that's like, "Damn you, Murtry, you deserve a good beating."
Yeah.
And especially for, kind of forcing Amos to kill someone that he maybe actually really cared about or was starting to care about a little bit, in a way. So we totally get why he would want to put his hands on Murtry and give him a good beating. It's just kind of stepping on the whole "this is civilization" mic drop thing that Holden did. But either way, but I do think, like what you said, Darksfall, and that if that could also like be an outcome if Amos hadn't gotten to the point where he was like, "I'm just gonna beat you up and that's it, and then get it out of my system," and then maybe it could build up and he would kill him. But yeah, I don't know. All right, we have an anonymous donation, just asking us to thank our amazing moderators.
It's right here. My navel's right here. Relax.
She has no navel. Clone. Shit. So yeah, thank you, moderators. From us and from an anonymous donor. All right, and from Dennis Thompson. The Expanse is more like Babylon 5 and the true spirited heir to that show, in my opinion. Yeah, we don't really know much about it because we haven't seen Babylon 5, but that is another sci-fi series that people are really telling us to watch, and one that has been out for many years, and many people love it, and there's a huge fan base for that as well. So hopefully at some point we will
in about 10 years when we've watched all the other shows
on our list.
Yeah. So we have a lot of suggestions and recommendations and everything. So also, just while I'm at it, we are not taking suggestions, we're not taking recommendations for the next long while, because we do have a long list, as I just said. And we're going to choose from those, and sometimes we're going to
put out a poll and
all that stuff. So just so you know, we're not taking recommendations. Of course, you can always do it, but we won't probably won't listen.
But of course we will listen, and you're always welcome to put in recommendations if there's a series or something you're passionate about and you would like for us to watch it. Just don't be sad if we don't get to it.
Exactly.
All right, have one here from Who's 30. Bobby and Isai talked a lot about the future of Mars after the opening of the ring gates. What impact do you think that change will have on Mars' status as a superpower in the Sol system? How will that affect the other players in the system? Another really good question. I think that it might put, Mars and many of the Martians...
Continue, please.
Yeah, sorry, just a funny comment. It might actually put a lot of the Martians on the same level or in the same, place in a way as a lot of the Belters, because that is what many of the Martians want what they want to do now, and now that Gao has opened up and saying, just go out there and explore and settle and everything. Mars is going to do that. There are so many Martians who are going to do that now and are going to do it with belters, and Martians and belters are going to get interlaced, and there are probably also people from Earth who are going to start doing that, and unless Earth just gets destroyed or something. But we're still counting on that not happening. But yeah, it's a interesting thing to speculate about is whether, like, where does this leave Mars? Because Mars is already changing, and that's one of the big things that you kind of get to experience and find out in season 4 is Mars, and they are not what they used to be. And why terraform? Why spend all this money and energy and time and everything on terraforming when you can just go to a new system?
Yeah.
And just find a planet that's just ready. It's kind of like, all right, for our home to get the way we want it, we have to, like, just pull everything down and build it up from scratch, and new paint on the walls and everything. But we could also just move into to the apartment next door that is, like, newly furnished and ready for us to move in, if you know what I mean. Like, we don't, like, have to do, if you have to come up with an analogy, I guess.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah. So I think Mars's status as a superpower, so to say, is gonna dwindle, because
I already think it has, really.
Yeah.
Throughout this season, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too, and like, they used to have a very impressive military and very impressive military force, and that's pretty much, like, we haven't really seen a lot of that. And, like, we saw one Martian naval officer in the last episode who was being held prisoner by Ashford and his crew. And he did not look like a typical, like, a Martian officer, like, from previous seasons, and he was not behaving like one either. So it's, yeah, I think they're already losing that status totally. All right, I think that was it for Streamlabs questions. So unless there are any last minute Streamlabs, then we might end it here, the stream. Do you have anything that you want to, mention or get into about the Expanse before we round off the whole thing?
I was just thinking, and I might have been. It was just thinking. All the systems have
habitable planets.
Habitable planets. Are these proto-builders, are they actually organic life forms that consume oxygen?
And have they terraformed all of these planets then to become habitable and alike?
Or, right? Or you said and? So is it an and or?
No. Have they terraformed all of these planets, and have they made them become alike? Like, so that each, like, if we, as you were saying, okay, yeah, that if they, yeah, that could very well be the case.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because if they have to have the same atmosphere as we have on Earth to live, then they might be a little bit more like us than we would expect.
Maybe, yeah. It's gonna be, like, really, really intriguing if they dive more into that. But I think it's gonna be a while before we get to see, like, any real aliens on the show, and not just remnants of alien technology and stuff. But I might be wrong. It could happen, like, first thing in the next season. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah. That was just something I was just drifting off to.
And it is definitely something interesting to think about. Like, how many habitable systems and planets, like in how many of, like, we know how many systems and how many ring gates are open, of course. But we've just only been spending time on Islas, and that's just one planet out of many, 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 many habitable planets and everything that we know are there, or we think are there at least. But yes, I think that is gonna do it for this. I was about to say reaction and review of the Expanse. It isn't, but it's talking about the Expanse and the Expanse seasons 1 through 4, spoiler talk, and then looking forward to what's to come. And we are definitely cannot wait till the next season. As some of you said in the chat, I think that they have wrapped production and they are in post-production, but there's no like date on when the season is gonna drop yet. But I hope, of course, that we're not gonna have to wait too long, and that it's gonna be around the same time that season 4 came out last year, so we'll get it around Christmas time. And then as soon as it drops, then of course we're gonna react to it, and we'll have our videos out. Yes. I wish that they wouldn't drop the entire season in one go, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It would be more fun if it was from week to week and we could theorize and talk with you people and not be like having to be afraid that people are gonna spoil stuff in the comments. But it's a choice that they have made, and it's
evolving with the times. And
all
that
people want to binge.
Yeah.
They don't want to do the week to week thing.
No, and that's pros and cons. Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, man. Pros and cons. Yeah. Doors and corners. Doors and corners. And with that, I think we're gonna end it. Thank you. So, wait. I
just want to say, I didn't get to say it. Moderators, especially you, Wave, because you've been here for a long time and you've been moderating very nicely today. I just wanted to say thank you so much. Yes. And also, sorry, I never got around to it. I saw someone asking about a PO box. Actually, I would. It's just I have been looking into it. I just didn't go any further because it's
quite damn expensive.
Yeah, it's about $500 a year or something. Or like, yeah, it's about.
It's pretty expensive. We don't have a PO box, but if we ever get one, we will let you guys know.
Yeah.
Because of course we would love to.
To answer that question, that we have been looking into PO boxes, but they're a little bit expensive. But we hope at some point that we can afford to get one, because we would love to, especially if you send us snacks. That would be the best. But yeah.
yes. And we could just give out our address, but no, not gonna do that. Oh. Did you get to all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure? Because somebody said rats. Maybe it was rats to the. I think the price.
PO box.
Yeah.
Thing,
well, it's Denmark. Everything is damn expensive.
Yeah. So, but at least we have good healthcare.
Yes. Hey.
So yeah, with that, thank you guys so much for joining us for this Expanse themed live stream, and we hope to see you all very, very soon. We don't know what the next one is going to be about, but we will let you know, and keep an eye on the community tab and on the channel. If you haven't, please visit our Patreon page and our Twitch and everything, and see if there's anything for you there as well. And I think there's not much else to say then. Thank you for watching once again, and see you guys. Bye.
Bye.